Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I have a very special guest today, someone I have looked up to throughout my entire career, not just myself, but many others. Lieutenant General, retired R. Scott Dingle. He is an unbelievable leader, officer. Lieutenant General Dingle brings a profound depth of experience in leadership from his time as the 45th U.S. Army Surgeon General and Commanding General of U.S. Army MedCom. During his tenure, he commanded at every level, including in combat, led monumental efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic, contributed to operational warp speed, and played a critical role in strengthening the Army's health infrastructure. A dynamic leader, General Dingle continues to share his valuable lessons on navigating complexity, fostering resilient cultures, and empowering teams to achieve exceptional results. His career is decorated with many honors, underscoring his significant contributions to military medicine and leadership. Now, to those who know you, that introduction does not do it justice. You are an absolute mentor and source of inspiration to a generation of leaders across all branches. So, from there, we're just going to dive right in and draw on any of the lessons you learned throughout your outstanding career, and then you'd like to share throughout your time as a true servant leader. So, thank you, sir.
No, Joe, thank you for that so kind introduction. Very humbling. Very humbling. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. And sir, just for those who are maybe not know you, because we have family members and civilians who've never had much touch with the military. Could you kind of just explain who you are and exactly what you're doing now?
Again, I'm Lieutenant General Scott Dingle, retired. I am 67 days into retirement and 4 hours and 37 seconds. But who was counting? Retirement life is great. But I'm the 45th Surgeon General. Just came out of the position in January of this year where I did my change of command and passing of responsibility as the Army Surgeon General and the Commanding General of the United States Army Medical Command. I will always be the 45th Surgeon General in our history, the first Medical Service Corps officer to be designated the Surgeon General in any of our services in the history of our nation, a tremendous blessing. And as a Medical Service Corps officer, I am a 70 Hotel, which is a medical operations operator. Or medical operations officer. So I'm an operator and a planner, by trade and by heart, what I love to do. Retired as a 3-star general in the Army. That's what Lieutenant General is, 3 stars. Tremendously blessed with a phenomenal team of teams that we had a lot of fun and accomplished a lot of stuff together.
Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, and right now, sir, are you, how for you as that transition? So this is something that a lot of people have asked me. As you see a lot of officers enlisted transitioning, right? I've recently gone through the Soldier for Life TAP classes, right? You have soldiers who are first-year privates who are separating, those who are being medical retired unexpectedly, all the way through a 30-year colonel or more. And we all have some unique challenges with that. Did you have anything that prepped you for this? I mean, you spent so many years in the military. You made it to 3-star general. How did that prepare you as you separated? Was it a shock? Was it a smooth transition? What was it like for you, sir?
So that's a good question, Joe, because everyone, a lot of close friends and even predecessors would, tell my wife and I, Scotty, it's going to be tough, transitioning from military service, in my case, after 35 years and 7 months, to include the extension, it said you're going to have a tough time, because you have been for the last, 9 years a general officer, and you've reached the highest ranks, and there's so much and so many things and the power and all that stuff, is you're going to have a very difficult time, and I would beg to differ, and I would say, I don't think I am. I said, I'm not going to have a tough time, and I don't know why you guys are trying to put that in my head. And I said, because the thing that people don't see and understand, that as the Surgeon General and Commander of the United States Army Medical Command, 122,000 Army Medicine Department people and equities and responsibilities, from the stress, the press, the duress that you are always under, and you can never pass that responsibility, that stress. It's just always on your back. And I was tell them, I said, when I take that off, I said, I'm going to be okay, because I look forward to just getting the weight off my back. Even though I love my job, best job in the world, it's also the most stressful. And I said, I don't think I'm going to have a tough time. So fast forward to, again, 67 days into retirement now, I am having the time of my life. It was not a tough transition. The military doesn't prepare you for transitions. So say, as you were matriculating through your career, because, you're on that mission, that target, and where you're at on the job, and you're trying to give your best, train hard, train as you fight, lead soldiers, prepare whatever you're preparing to prepare soldiers. And that's the focus, but then once you go into transition, like, you talked about TAP, it goes quick. And, when you're on the inside going through that threshold into retirement, initially it's scary, because we spent so much of our lives, majority of my life has been in the military, serving. And then, oh God, what am I going to do when I go through this door? My first thought was I get to let go of the stress and the press, but still kind of anxious, a little anxiety about, like, what am I going to do, and, where I'm going to live, which is human. And so, I transitioned out, stayed right here in Maryland. I'm from Maryland. In Southern Maryland. Got a nice house, some property, and it's nice and quiet. And like I said, the transition has been phenomenal. I love, my job, the fast pace, the responsibilities when I had it, but to take off that weight and that chain, again, has been life changing, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Again, as I keep saying, I loved my job. I loved the military, but when I transitioned, I was telling this one group I was speaking to, I took every uniform, boxed it up, and was taking it to the giveaway place. And my wife was like, "You can't do that." I said, "Well, why not?" I said, "I'm not putting this back on again." She said, "You need to hold on at least one or two, and so I did.
Yeah.
But it's transition. Not that I'm not proud of my service, but when you go to the next chapter, you have to turn the page. Has always been my philosophy. And you have to let go and let the next people to excel behind you. And then you share the wisdom you have so that they can be better than you. But to answer your question, Joe, it has been amazing. Right now, I kind of say it facetiously, but I'm doing absolutely nothing, except join my grandson, get up and work out every day.
Yeah.
But I said I was going to do like 3 to 6 months of just nothing time, and just enjoy life, decompress, de-stress, demilitarize. But I've been getting bombarded with things, and the plan is just to, when the time is right, I'll do some consulting and sitting boards and speaking, and going easy and enjoying life, traveling, seeing the world, and spoiling my grandson.
Well, thank you, sir. Yes, and we'll talk about some of that stress you may have felt. As for those who don't know, you were the Army Surgeon General during the pandemic, which, I mean, talk about potentially a once in a lifetime situation and how you dealt with that. And I really want to start with, you talk about sharing your lessons learned, and talking to, sharing your leadership knowledge and your experience and everything you've gained throughout your career. Similar to being an avid reader, where you can try to learn from the past, and so at least it gives you a guideline to how you make your future decisions. You yourself, and you mentioned it, you were the first in a lot of situations, and especially in the Army Medical Department, you were the first to attend the School of Advanced Military Studies, SAMS for short. You were the first medical service Surgeon General. What was it in you? Was it something you developed over the years? Was it sports, family? What was it that gave you that desire to push forward and kick through doors and really create your own path as opposed to just following a standard, military check, certain jobs, and then that's a career. What was it in you, sir?
It's it it. I never had the thought that I was being the first. It was never a drive. Okay, I want to be the first, this or that. Didn't even cross my mind. It would just always pop up. Hey, you just happen to be the first person. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. But my passion, like I tell a lot of officers and civilians and soldiers, is to follow your dreams or follow your heart. What do I mean? Whatever it is you want to do, man, go after it and do it. Do what you want, not what mom wants, what dad wants or friend wants, but what is your passion? My passion, initially was sports, and then from sports I came to the military, but yet still had that competitive mindset, which is the military in actuality, because we have evaluation system which you're compared against other people. But I was never competitive against other people. I want to be competitive with myself to do my best. And then what is it that Scotty wanted to do? When I chose to be a 70 hotel medical operations officer, it was not a good time to be a 70 hotel, because everyone's saying like, hey, if you all want to command a battalion or go to senior service college or be a colonel, don't be a 70 hotel, because we were not getting picked up, because you had functional battalions with the aviation and logistics. It wasn't a medical operations battalion. So they had a stovepipe that was taking them into XO battalion commands of these functional battalions directly to senior service college, which led to brigade command, as an 06. And so they were telling, hey, you all be operators, you need to change up. But it wasn't my passion. My passion, was operating, and I just had joy in doing that. I would just love it. It wasn't a job, it was a joy. And then when you have a joy and not a job, you always put your best into it, because it's something that you want to perfect. And that's what I did. I just tried to do my best. I loved it. And so being that I'm doing it, I'm gonna make sure that it is strapped, wired down, and in accordance with excellence in the book. And that just created doors of opportunity, and the timing, of opportunity, in my career of Sam's just opening up. General Peak had opened up the year before for us to be able to compete. I just happened to be at going to resident CGSC at that time. So part of it was just blessings and timing, in which Sam's was another, quintessential medical operator planner tool to sharpen the toolkit. And so I said, man, I'm competing. I'm gonna put my best foot forward and try to get into this thing. And I was blessed and fortunate enough to do so. But it was just passion, going after the career path that made me happy. Never competing against other people, but yet trying to always compete against myself to do my best and give my best, and it worked out.
Yes, sir. Yeah, sir. You've inspired a lot of officers who may have looked at a different route, which are all great, to pursue the 70 hotel route. I know myself at the National Training Center when I was a OC, which if you don't enjoy operations, you'll find it out quick there. And I reached out to you, just a mid-grade captain, and you were 30th Med Brigade commander. And that conversation with you convinced me I was enjoying what I was doing. But similar to what you said, it was pursue your passion.
Mm-hmm.
If you're passionate about this, pursue it. And so you shaped my career on that end, just from a simple conversation. And, you didn't even have to answer that email that I sent you. And you did. You took the time. And that's why you've made such a difference to a lot of officers throughout the AMED.
Joe, it has always been my mindset that all of us have a responsibility, regardless of how high or low we are, that we have a responsibility to build up, to pour into, those that are coming behind you, those that are on the team, to help, those that are on the team with you, those that are superior or above us. We have a responsibility to give our best and to help them succeed and go after their dreams, their goals, their objectives. Always paying back. And everybody doesn't do that, and that kind of frustrated me as a young officer, because even when I came as a second lieutenant, I went to Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, playing football, running track, and I ran track. And so team sports was a part of my DNA. And the thing that helped me through ROTC was I was an athlete, and being an athlete, the captain of the team and trying to rally the force and having that fun. I transitioned into the military, or transferred it to the military in my leadership style. So even as a young officer, I couldn't understand as a second lieutenant, first lieutenant, why and how some officers would just walk by me or walk by us when we're there. How some officers had a mentality that was big I and little you, because they were the captain, the major, the commander, and I would watch and see so much hubris, in leadership back then, that it just disappointed me. But it also just gave me a drive that said, well, man, you learn from everybody, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I said, man, do not make me a company commander, because I'm not going to do like that guy did. Don't make me a battalion commander, because I am not going to do like they do. I'm gonna reach up and bring people back and give them the keys to the kingdom and the secrets to the recipe, so that they can mix the recipe of success for their careers. And it was frustrating as I would see those leaders, and the only thing that it did was taught me what not to do. So you learn from everyone. And I tell a lot of officers, a lot of times we in bad commands and bad sections and teams, and the leadership is extremely poor, but we can't allow that to impact our mentality and our decisions. Learn from it and, take over the department, section, team, squad, company, battalion, brigade, command, and then you create that atmosphere that is the total antithesis of what they did and what they believed. And as I did that, it impacted people the same way like it was, in sports with the team, encouraging, helping, giving them another chance, and I said that would be my change in the little space that I had, whether it was a company, a platoon, or section. No, establish the climate and the leadership that gets everybody on the team to achieving their goals and being better than you, and which means, again, that equality and or equity and sharing the secrets of leadership, and opportunity and helping people, but yeah, I didn't see that a lot. And that gave me that drive to be a different leader, to be myself, because as I saw them also, I said, man, I am not going to lead like that, and I said, I'm not going to change, and what would, always kind of freak people out was, when I would go and visit, whether HRC, at different locations, man, they'd have the dog and pony route, and I would like to go off the route. Hey, let's go over here. Whose desk is this? Let me look at that. And they're like, what in the world? No, I want to see what stage. I want to see the people as they are and say hello and, encourage and hear about them and see what they're doing, because that makes a difference. And so, because I always said, I'm not going to change, and rank is not going to impact me, to drink the hubris that's in the cup, of position, power, and popularity and all that other stuff. I said, nope, not going to change. And, my team would get mad. They said, sir, you're not a doggone captain no more. You can't just walk up under the radar. I said, of course we can. Come on, let's do it,
Oh yeah. No, I think you caught a few people off guard when they look up from the cubicle and and there you are, right next to them.
Like, who's that? Who's that?
Yeah.
Where the kids at? What are they doing? What? How old? Oh, the recital.
Yeah. And I would say, sir, a lot of the folks that I've met throughout my career who've come up underneath you throughout whether it's battalion command, brigade command, what have you, a lot of them carry along that same approach, right? Where you, in some cases, you might see somebody who says, I want to be the best at this, and anyone who comes after me, they can find their own way. Whereas, a good friend of mine, Charmaine Robinson, who recently promoted to colonel, lieutenant colonel, she's someone that is, when you come in, I want you to do better than me. I want to set you up for success. And I think that's a key thing with your mentorship and your discussion, things like this today. And this is what we're really trying to get after with this podcast, is highlight positive people that are making just an absolute change, because we want to put some positivity into the world. There's a lot of negativity right now, and positive people don't get enough press, so to speak. It's not out there as loud as it should be. And so do you find that more leaders like yourself are either making themselves available or are available, but people aren't asking for your advice? Like, this is you've come and done it, thanks, I'm going to do it my way. Do you think people are reaching out to learn from those generations before that came before them?
I think they are, but there are a lot that are not. I would always tell people, after speaking, all right, look, here's my number. Here's I'm in global, reach out, email me, call me, and, I'm gonna respond back to you. Text me, so that I can answer the question, so I can share the experience, so I can give you the mentorship to be successful. But what normally happens, people see the rank, or the position, the power, and like, oh my God, I'm not going to email that. He's a general officer. I learned that lesson when I was a young captain getting ready to make major. And I was in 1st Army Division, Bad Kreuznach, Germany, and then Lieutenant Colonel West, the division surgeon, and I was Division Medical Operations Center. I learned a lesson because Major General Granger, who was then Colonel Granger, was commanding Lonsdale. And we were putting on a 1st Army Division Medical Synchronization Conference in Bad Kreuznach. So we had probably about it was like 200-300 people, and my guest speaker had fallen through. And then Colonel Granger had told then Captain Dingle, hey, Scotty, if you ever need anything, get in contact with me, let me know how you're doing. But, contact me anyway, and, keep in touch. We had met, a couple months earlier. My first thought is just like the first thought that many people do when I meet them, which goes back to your question: do they reach out? When I got the card, I said, "Oh man, thanks, sir." And I'm thinking in my mind, man, I'm not gonna call Colonel Granger. Man, that's doggone, Colonel Granger. You're the commander of Lonsdale Regional Medical Center, the infamous Colonel Granger. You got 1 million people following you and trying to tug at your coattails and that you're mentoring. You ain't got time for doggone Captain Dingle. I'm not calling you, man. I'm not gonna, And then the situation happened, and I had to call him. I said, wow, let me see if I can get Colonel Granger down, and so I called him, the day before, and he dropped everything and flew down by helicopter, to our event, and saved the day, and spoke. And then afterward, he pulled me aside. He said, Scotty, I said, yes, sir. And I said, thank you, sir. Thank you. He said, no, anytime. He said, but Scotty, doggone it, didn't I tell you to contact me, a couple months ago and stay in contact? I said, no, sir, but you're Colonel. He said, let me manage my schedule. If we did not mean it, we would not tell it to you, and reach out and establish and maintain contact, because we're here for you. I want to make you successful. I want to make all of you all successful, but you can't be scared to reach out and stay in contact. And so I learned that lesson. He chewed me out afterward and said, now you better listen, and you let me manage my schedule and you stay in contact. And I took that, adopted that same philosophy of, reach out. But yet many people do just like, Captain Dingle did. Man, that's General Dingle. There's no way in the world. He ain't got time. But then they're surprised, they reach out, and I email them back or I text them back. And like I tell them, you gotta be persistent too, because sometimes it does really get lost in, the 1,000 emails that come in that day, and you may be in crisis. Then it gets pushed down by another 1,000 the next day, and you don't respond. But be persistent so that we can respond. Another time, another leader said, Scotty, as a junior officer, always speak to senior officers, that are in the profession. especially, those in the command, and, you speak to all, but because you never know when that one officer is going to make that connection, and he or she becomes a tremendous mentor. Because you just speak, you know, it's our responsibility. Those are the good leaders to connect, you know, and I took that on too, because sometimes you meet them, hey, how's it going? Colonel McGee, and you're gonna get, oh yeah, hey, good Army day, hey, airborne, BDU,
Right.
Marine, C, you just keep going
Yeah.
on, big eye, little you, how dare you speak to me? Other times it's gonna be like, hey, Joe, how you doing? What's first name? Joe, how you doing? Where'd you go to school? What? No way, Slippy Rock, man. Let
Yeah.
me tell you, and it opens up connection. You can't just, and opportunities for mentorship to receive that wisdom and the knowledge and the honest thoughts of what you're doing and what you're going to do. But if you never speak, you can't make that connection. And a lot of officers and NCOs and civilians fail to reach out because they're afraid, thinking that they're too busy. No, reach out, and establish it. But yeah, so a lot of people miss the opportunity because they don't reach out. But then there's a whole bunch of folks who do reach out and establish relationships and maintain contact. The thing I've learned in my 35 years, and even now even in retirement, relationships matter. You do the most you can for all you can while you can, not to build your own king of the mountain and look, I made it, I'm at the top of it. No, you do that because you want to establish the relationships to help people, regardless of rank, power, prestige, position. Then as you go along, you now can reach back and say, hey, yeah, hey, Joe, I need this. Come on up here. I got this opportunity, or I need an XO, or, all of my team was, relationships that I met, established, or had, or in the process of building as I was matriculating through my career to give them opportunities. Remember, just like the presidential elections, when the president gets into position, or senators or congressmen, what happens? They bring along the people that they know. All right, you're going to be the secretary of this, you're going to go here, because they trust and they have relationships with them. It's no different in life and in the military, and even in retirement. Relationships matter. Build relationships. Don't be afraid to reach out to potential mentors, because you never know when that mentor is going to be the one that is a key nugget in your rucksack of success. And they don't have to look like you. They're not going to be the same AOC, or it's beyond rank and all the other stuff. But just reach out and connect, because it's an opportunity for you to grow and be your best.
That's great advice, sir. Thank you. And we talk about connecting, and this is going to lead us into the discussion of the pandemic. During that time, we worked together with your staff, your sergeant major, and you actually did a virtual visit to HRC where, we're all locked down, couldn't go anywhere, but we had everyone in HSD, Health Services Division, online through Teams, and that was pretty much brand new. And we had coins that we flashed everyone who got a coin, and so that I thought that was something that tied into with your discussion. You made yourself available to everyone throughout that whole process, and no one, you didn't have to do that, but you did, right? And I think that's something that's amazing. And with that, I touched on you were the Surgeon General, U.S. Army Surgeon General during COVID. How, during a once in a lifetime event potentially, how did you manage to work through that process? Like the resiliency that takes, the decentralized leadership. This is a global impact. How did you do this, or what lessons did you learn as the Surgeon General during this time, sir?
That was one of the two most stressful periods in my life. Or let me rephrase, one of the two most stressful periods in my military career, not including the loss of mom and dad. COVID was tremendously taxing on not just me, but the enterprise, Army medicine, because it was, medical, and so for that 2 years, literally, every day, I had to be in the Pentagon, in a worldwide secure VTC, a video teleconference, with all the, the commanders and all the, ASCCs, component command, Army subordinate component command, Army service component commands, um, talking and briefing, the medical equities, given the status where we were at and how we were doing, and the update of whatever drive, um, initiative for that focus for 2 years straight, every day. So like being in the circus and in the center tent, the center ring, standing with all the eyes on you. So the stress and the press that was on us, because it wasn't just me, on Army medicine was tremendous, tremendous. Um, but at the same time, just like a tea bag, just like tea bag and tea, when the heat comes, the tea gives flavor, and that's what Army medicine did, because, remember, it wasn't too long before that they were like, hey, we don't need you medical folks. We're going to split you up, which was the other toughest time of my career. We're going to disband you, fold the flag.
Mm-hmm.
Now you move from being outside in the dumpster, being thrown away, to being put on the center stage and having to lead that and provide the people resources, and equities in the response of not just the Department of Defense and Army, but for the nation. Many folks don't know that, hey, look, that was our, our rare, our research development folks, at Fort Detrick, that were undergirding, the entire national response, the prophylaxis. That was us, that were doing that was supporting, Ambassador Burke in the presidential task force. It was us, giving 35 plus people to Health and Human Services to help them do the planning and the execution. It was us, Operation Warp Speed, the Army Medicine Department, and so that, juxtaposed across the world at every post camper station, the medical community, the hospitals, the testing and the care, the force health protection officers at the installation level and in the hospitals and in the field, responding for the senior commanders at that location, giving them the confidence, and us following the battle plan and the playbook, us establishing the playbook. Tremendous responsibility and tremendous stress, but yet Army medicine showed, again, we moved from the dumpster, we don't need you, to the center ring, and we, the enterprise Army medicine team, performed phenomenally, so much the president came back, he said, what, I want to send 1,000 military doctors to hospitals around the world. What did that mean? Hey, Army medicine, you're going to get about 80% of your MedCom people to do this deployment,
Mm-hmm.
and we responded, with what we do best. The thing about, Army medicine is that we're filled with leaders who are selfless, because we like taking care of others, and with a passion. We'll give more of taking care of others than times we'll do to take care of ourselves, but it was an amazing, tough time. But the thing that got us through was the Army medicine enterprise, because Army medicine is Army strong. We had to rebuild the brand to tell our story that, no, we're not no, powder puffs. I mean, Army medicine is Army strong. And
Mm-hmm.
we showed them, and we changed the enterprise and the nation, where we was at the bottom, and then now we're at the top, and COVID was that catalyst, that did that. But amazing, stressful time. There was one time, I tell this story, that I always tell people, take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Because if you pass out, Joe is on the floor, what we're going to do? What we're going to replace? Next man, next woman in there, next soldier leader, step up. Oh, we're going to miss you, but, too bad, so sad. Should have took care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
People got short memories, because we have a replacement, system, to backfill. It was one day I was in the hospital, and, the most stressful thing that I I dislike about the job was the live Pentagon press, conferences, and the secretary would just say, Scotty, keep your uniform in there because you never know. And it was constant, let's go. I have to throw uniform on. We go down to the press conference room, and I'm sitting up there in live TV, getting grilled by the press. Now that is the most stressful time, because you don't want to say the wrong thing and be on Fox News or
Yeah.
NBC News or CBS, for the night. And like, oh man, doggone TSG jacked up and said, XYZ, and it was one time after one of the press conferences, I came back to the room, my office in the Pentagon, and man, I was dizzy, from the stress and didn't eat. I said, okay, well, let me sit down, and I sat down for a second in my Pentagon office alone. I looked around and I said, doggone it. I tell everybody else take care of themselves and what's going to happen if we don't, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And here I am getting ready to faint from not eating, heartbeat rapid from the stress. And I could pass out in this office, and what are they going to do? They're going to bring up the next TSG.
Yeah.
And the light bulb came on. Dog, I need to practice what I preach and take care of myself. But it was all because of that stress from COVID, tremendously stressful time. But it also just gave Army medicine the opportunity to show that we're Army strong. That motto was intentional, to rebuild the brand and the reputation of Army medicine, that we weren't just focused on hospitals that didn't care about the Army mission. No, we're Army strong too, and we all stepped up to the plate and hit a walk off, turn off the lights, walk out the park, home run, for the Army and the nation.
So as a leader at the strategic level, you're the top of, you said, 122,000 AMED soldiers, leaders. How do you at that level impact the morale and the belief in an organization? I know you said you rebranded in Army Medicine, Army Strong. It's one thing as a company commander or a section leader to boost morale their 10 to 15 people. How do you go about approaching that for an organization that's as large as Army Medicine?
Well, it starts at the top, because you have to set the strategic azimuth or direction, to put in the narrative that you want the enterprise to follow. And then once you set the strategic objectives, the vision, the mission, the end state on what you want to do at the strategic level, then you have to operationalize that all the way down, through your leaders, giving them the words to say, the objectives to hit, the gates that you want the organization, or soldiers to have or believe. And then you got to go out and reinforce it, its presence. I did so much traveling, and I couldn't even get around to everyone that I wanted to, because, they didn't want to see you, get so many requests. Hey, can you come? Can you come? And when you come, you're reinforcing that message, that they're executing at the tactical level. And so it is a puzzle, a very finely connected puzzle that you have to put together and work in multi-dimensional levels, the strategic to operational tactical. You set it up here, but then you got to get down to the tactical level to reinforce and just say thank you with the coin and said, hey man, Joe, thank you for what you're doing. You put in the right people in the right place. I heard a lot of great things about you. Thank you for meeting, this objective, this task of taking care of soldiers, and those little things, again, it has to be a multi-dimensional attack from all your leaders, to help impact and bring change. Because many times we just set the strategic azimuth, but yet we don't do the check and the balance as you go down. QTBs, Army Medicine was never doing any semi-annual training brief, rather, and I started to do the check on learning, of the azimuth that Command Sergeant Major Huff and I were setting. And I said, well, then you got to do a check on compliance, and that was the whole method behind the madness of a semi-annual training brief, to make sure that you're changing the enterprise, because you always have those dinosaurs that don't want to change. So in order to impact from a strategic level, you got to put in the controls to check it. and then you reward it and reinforce it, but you got to get out and go see it to make sure that it's on the right path.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic, sir. And sitting through some of the external sync stakeholders meetings, I think I gained some of that knowledge as well on how you approach that. So I guess one of the biggest questions I have, we have, because we're going about 40 minutes now, sir, and I know you're very busy, so I want to be very careful with your time. What would you say? I have three daughters. I've already started my own internal propaganda campaign to get them to go to West Point or ROTC or do something along those lines and pursue service. And my oldest is definitely interested. But what would you say to a young man, young woman in high school or college who is considering joining the service and wants to make this or is considering making this a career? What would you say to them, sir?
Live your dream. Live your dream. Find your dream. And in order to find your dream, you have to explore what opportunities are out there. The Army may not be for you, but don't just turn your back on it. Look at what it offers. Look at the opportunities, the benefits, the pros, the cons, and see if that is something that fits your DNA, because it may not fit your DNA. If it does, and it is a catalyst to help you get to where you want to be, then you try it out. The great thing about life is that we can change and fix things as we go along. If we don't like it, okay, great. We can change it, and learn from that experience. I had no intentions of coming in the Army. I grew up in a military family. My dad was enlisted Air Force, and, he's from White Plains, New York. And so he too, like you, Joe, would say, hey, West Point, West Point, West Point.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great to go to West Point. It's around the corner where he grew up, and be a commissioned officer. And I would tell him, Dad, I am not going in nobody's Army. I said, I'm not wearing no boots. I'm not standing in no line, and all this other stuff that they do. Nope, nope, nope. I was not having it at all. And when I got to high school, he's still trying to plant those seeds. I'm like, nope, Dad, not doing it. Heavily recruited, and VMI came and spoke to me, and my dad was like, oh man, that's great too. You can get a commission. You go in the Army. Fantastic opportunity. It's not West Point, but man, it's just as good. I said, I am not doing VMI. The coach came and did his pitch, and VMI was just getting ready to go co-ed in the late 80s and early 90s. And I said, hey, you got girls there? He said, nope. I said, I'm not going to school with a bunch of dudes. Not me. I'm not that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Charlie, get out of here. And my dad blew a gasket. He said, man, this is serious, and you playing around. I said, I'm not playing, Dad. I don't want to go to school with a whole bunch of dudes. And I said, I don't want to go in the military. No.
Yeah.
I said, I'm serious. I'm not playing. And coach, he's like, oh, you got a girls' school here? You got cheerleading? I said, no. His thing is, I don't want to come in the military. But my dad planted the seed of, military life, the pros and cons, and would not let it go. And so my dad got so mad at me that I made a promise to him. I said, look, Dad, let me go to the school I want. I promise you I'll take ROTC. I promise, wherever I do. I ended up, going to Morgan, football, ran track. Initially was going to Syracuse, had a knee injury, and was just going to run track, and then got back on the football field. And I had, when I got there, my dad was like, hey, you said ROTC. I was like, oh, man. I said, I will, Dad. I promise you. So took ROTC, and I tell you, full disclosure, I was the worst cadet ever, because I didn't care.
Yeah.
I got in ROTC, and I was like, man, I look at the people, man, y'all think y'all really in the military. Y'all cadets. Y'all walk around here, and they, all right, hey, drop, do push-ups. I'm like, what? What is wrong with these people? And so I was that cadet.
Yeah.
I always was at practice, and so being a varsity, a collegiate track and football player, I never had to, do PT or do all that time because I was at practice. And so I was the problem cadet. They always would come in, Scotty, you need to get out the program because you're just, And ultimately, the light came on at basic camp, in advanced camp, and I graduated at the top of my cycles in camp. And then the light came on. Man, I like this. This is just like sports. It's leadership, and sports. And so the light bulb came on later, in my matriculation, and then after I came in the military, that I enjoyed the military. But many people and many of our youth, your sons and daughters, don't understand what we do because they don't know. But it's through mom and dad, telling us, hey, think about this, something to think about. But we have to let them live their life and make their choices. We can inform them about the opportunity, but you got to let them make the choices and not them going into it just because of us. Well, man, I just did it because dad, kept saying go to West Point, or VMI. I hate this place, but you never know when it's going to take, like in my case, it did. My dad, and many people know the story, the only reason I came in him, it wasn't my plan, but, he saw me promoted to 1-star general, and then he died 3 months afterward. Through heart failure. He had declining health for years. And when I took over the 30th Med Brigade, he was, at, quadruple bypass surgery, pacemaker, melanoma pumping the port medications to his heart. And as I went to brigade command, my dad was like, I'm not going to see you again. But he was so happy that I was going to be a brigade commander, and he's telling everyone, man, my son's going to be a general, Then I said, Dad, don't tell people that. I'm not going to be a general. I'm going to brigade command, and then I'm going to come back and work in the DC area, then, get out and, pastor a church and coach football, somewhere. Went to brigade command and got picked up for 1-star. And then he promoted me, greatest time of my life, and then died because you made dad proud. So a dad or a parent that deposits hope, dreams in their children is a child that can reach the highest levels of success because of the encouragement from you, mom and dad. And so I would say, encourage them, but yet to that child who's making a decision, I say, live your dream, listen to everything, it's always your choice, but live your dream and go big, set the goal high. Don't be afraid to take on the biggest challenges or hopes that you may have, and go after it. Don't let nothing stop you, block you, or detain you. Have fun and live your life to the fullest, is what I would tell them.
Well, thank you, sir. Sir, those are all the questions I have. Before we close out, is there anything else you would like to say or leave us with?
I would say for all of the Army medicine leaders out there, soldiers and civilians, our teammates, to the Medical Service Corps, teammates, especially, the 70 hotels and operators and planners. But to all, I would say, tag you're it, tag you're it. It is your turn now to lead, to impact, to bring change, to do the podcasts that are sharing. It's your time to impact tomorrow's leaders. It's your time to guide today's leaders. It's your time to build upon the successes and the good, the bad, and the ugly things that you've experienced in your careers and in your professions, and to be difference makers so that that person that you're passing it forward to and that you're passing it back to can be better than you. And that's just going to impact Army medicine. It's going to impact those individuals, whether civilian and not in the military, to be and contribute as leaders, to our nation, to our military, to the church, to the schools, to the colleges, to whatever. But be inspirations, be planters, be farmers that are putting into, their soil, dreams of hopes that they can do it, that they can achieve it, that they can be better than you. If I can do it, anyone can do it. It's not hard. Didn't say it wasn't going to be challenges, but yet it's time for us. It's time for you to create the climate. It's time for you to create the atmosphere. It's time for you to take over the lead, in the race, and to win, and to win. So run to win, have fun with what you do. Keep your priorities in order. Mine, many people know are my faith, my family, my finances, and fun. Finances is whatever job that I'm doing to take care of my family and my faith. But keep your priorities. Remember that life is unforgiving. Spend the time with your daughters, your sons now, because it's going to be soon that time is gone, and you and your spouse are going to be in some big giant house, with the kids all moved out. My final baby just moved out, last weekend, got her own apartment, significant emotional event for mom, but that's what we want to do. But you can't miss those opportunities of life that they're going through, the recitals, the games, those little things to just spend time with them, but deposit in them the same way that we deposit in, our soldiers and civilians, life lessons so that they can be successful and help everyone, help everyone. Do the most you can for all you can while you can. And we have a responsibility to impact the world, our families, Army medicine, our friends. Don't never abandon them, be there for them. And remember, the opportunity of a lifetime only lasts a lifetime of the opportunity. So take the advantage of it while you are there and just do it, not for self, but for others.
Wow. Thank you, sir. Well, that concludes our conversation today. And sir, I just want to thank you very much, a heartfelt thank you, for one, for coming on the show, two, everything you've done throughout your career, not just for the military, but for everyone out there. You've made such a difference in a lot of people's lives in and out of the military. And your valuable insights continue to inspire people to this day, and will continue to inspire for the foreseeable future, sir. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming on. And that is all for us today. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Joe. It was a phenomenal honor to be a part of your podcast. And I tell you, when you blow this thing up and you on the television and around the world, never forget, where you started and keep pouring into, the world. So proud of you. Congratulations on your service too.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Joe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.